about. We're going to be sharing with you what the Black Business Growth Initiative is all about. And you'll see from our caption and the title of this event that we're putting out on Facebook and other platforms that we see this as a practical tool towards economic transformation. Now, we all know the history of South Africa and the fact that 1994 was the beginning of the dream. It was the realization, in fact, of something that our ancestors and our forebearers and the people who came before us sacrificed their lives, sacrificed their choices, sacrificed, their families even, to make sure that this goal, this dream that we are living now is a reality. But now, since 1994, what do we see happening? We see that as much as we have political freedom, economic freedom is not there. We see that Black people are still marginalized. We see, for instance, if you live in Cape Town, when you get off the airport and you're driving along the N2, you look to your left, you look to your right, you see squatter camps, you see shanty towns. And in there are Black people, you don't find any other race that's living in those situations. You see, for instance, if I were to ask you even to look around you, the device that you are using to watch even this broadcast on, to what extent is there Black empowerment or Black participation as far as ownership and the profits of what we are using in our daily lives? And that's what we are really about. We are talking about economic transformation, economic emancipation, which goes hand in hand and is a second leg to this political freedom that we have now. Let's have no doubt about it. What we achieved in 1994 was a critical milestone, but it wasn't the end of the war. Because as I said, at the end of the day, the people who are fighting for our freedom were fighting for freedom in every respect of our lives, not just political, but very importantly in the quality of the lives that we live as people who live in South Africa, especially people who were previously marginalized. So when you look around you, you're looking at your laptop and you ask yourself the question, other than labor and perhaps distribution, to what extent is there Black economic participation? What Black people have, benefited from your laptop or from your cell phone that you use? If you think about the furniture that you're sitting on, the entire value chain from who owned the forest where the trees came from, who owned the business that cut the wood, who owned the business that transported the wood, who owned the business that processed the wood to make it suitable for building furniture, who owned the process and the business for converting that wood to furniture, who owned the retail, the wholesale, who owned everything to getting that chair where it is now, who owned the abattoirs, who owns the leather, that is used on your seats, even the upholstery and all those. When you're driving out your house, you see the lines on the road. Other than painting those roads, to what extent have Black people participated in a way that makes sure that whatever is left over as a profit is there for themselves and to build wealth for their families? And that really is what we are talking about today, and that's what the Bbgi is all about. So in terms of sorting out our technical issues, I want to thank Ovayo Monti, who's in the business of streaming and digital work in terms of marketing and distribution and graphics and all those things. I mean, I have firsthand experience in terms of his work, him and his company. A friend of ours had a bereavement in the family, and Ova and his team were there to cover the funeral and to stream it live, the memorial service, streaming it live, planning for contingencies such as load shedding so that things were not disrupted. Being able to take care and make sure that the sound is good, the quality is good, having multiple cameras and angles during those events, and a very, very affordable prices. So this is just my way of saying, in true Bbgi fashion, we want to give testimonials for the good experiences that we have from Black business and Black professionals, but also we want to give people an opportunity to showcase what they are doing. Many of us, if we look at how much we spend every month, and we just answer the question that I've asked now, the food that you're buying, if you're buying from a Pick n Pay or from a Woolworths, chances are there's very, very little of that profit going to a Black owner. If you're looking at, for instance, the clothes that you wear, and so it's not for lack of want, but if we look at that budget that we spend a month and we start actively sacrificing our convenience at times to see that 99% that we spend on non-Black business reducing to 95, reducing to 90%, until we get to a point one day, and this is the dream of the Black Business Growth Initiative, where we are spending more than 80%, 90% of our monthly expenditure and our monies that we earn on Black-owned businesses. Because what happens typically is that we earn the money on Friday, and by Monday, 90% of it is already back to non-white, to non-Black businesses. And that is the reality that keeps us stuck in a cycle of employment, a cycle of poverty, and a cycle that says that if you have a job and you are somehow to lose your work within 3 months, even if you've been working for 10 years, it will be as if you never worked a day in your life. And that is a real experience for many people, especially with the COVID and the lockdowns that we've seen, which have seen the economy and the country essentially come to a standstill. So what we are talking about today is the vision and the goals of the Black Business Growth Initiative. I've told you what is the overall vision, and that is Black participation in the economy from a real equity perspective. And what we are doing here is not something new. It's not something that is competing with anyone else, but rather it is in support of the work that government is doing. It is to make sure that whoever wants to really contribute in a meaningful and authentic and genuine way in the transformation, in applying the Bbgi legislation that the business has put in place, then we give those people an opportunity. Is to ensure that Black professionals who want to grow and also, be leaders in their professions with real clout, with real authority, with the ability to wield and use their power and their expertise and their leadership capabilities in a way that does not marginalize them because they are only Black, sitting in a boardroom where the culture is not so conducive and welcoming to them as someone who's different. And at the same time, robbing them and the company of the opportunity from gaining from the diversity in culture, in thinking, in background, in understanding of the demographics of the markets, of which Black people are the majority, in increasing the bottom line of those businesses. And that does not exclude the people who serve in the public sector. We are talking about those leaders as well, who are professionals in their own right, who apply their skills in an ethical way, but who want to make sure that they continue to enhance and they continue to have access and understanding of the real issues on the ground that will help them also to be meaningful and more impactful in their roles. We want to talk about those. So you'll see on the screen here that, initially this document was prepared on the 12th of February, 2020. It was based on the last workshop that we had in 2019, where we had a group of our members who were participating. It was face-to-face then, it was before COVID. And we asked some key strategic questions about the Black Business Growth Initiative, which we're going to talk about now. And the foundation and the framework that we're about to talk to now is on the basis of the participants and the members, which essentially is you. So it's not my idea, it's not the team's idea, but it's all of our ideas, because those people are representative of us as Black professionals and Black business owners. Of course, we updated it now recently with the team on the 7th of March, 2021. And we were just asking the question, does the strategy, this vision, these goals, are they still congruent? Are they still relevant? Do we need to update them? And to a large degree, we found them to still be relevant. We found that, we might need to change the tactics, but overall what we are driving is still relevant and there's still a great need. So at any point, we'll be calling for you to contact us. On every slide, you'll see our email addresses there, info@bbgi.co.za. Send us an email, write to us, in whatever way. We want as much as possible to be interactive and to be relevant. But let me not get ahead of myself. Let me go through the presentation. And please, on Facebook, wherever you may be, share this link so that others may join, so that others may watch. Even if it's not now and later, please continue to do that. And what we are really talking about here is the fact that we want to unite as Black people. So when I talk about the Black Business Growth Initiative, what is it? In a nutshell, it is nothing more than a community of like-minded people that seeks to see its Black members grow in every aspect of their lives. Let me read that again. It is a community of like-minded people that seeks to see its Black members grow in every aspect of their lives. Let me emphasize some key aspects of that statement. Number one, when we talk about community, we're talking about a gathering, we're talking about a unity, but we're also talking about the fact that there is communication, there is communing, there is a coming together, and there's also talking and dialogue. we're talking about like-mindedness, and that is one of the intentions of these events, so that we can share with each other our minds and our expertise and some of the things that we really want to drive, so that we can get your ideas around what it is that will make this even more impactful than what it is already. And we are also about Black members growing in every aspect of their lives. It's about Black members and growing in every aspect of their lives. It's not just the economic, it's not just, in terms of your career, but it's every aspect of your lives. So our objectives and values, this is the compass, this is the thing that drives and guides us. Number one, we want unity and we want collaboration. When we say unity, we are saying that we might have different ways of achieving things, but at the end of the day, we want to see Black people prosper and thrive in whatever area they want, and we want collaboration. What that says is that we are approaching things from a perspective that says there is enough for everyone. If you look at how many Black people there are in South Africa alone, we are a big market, and there is enough opportunity for everyone. Therefore, what that means for us is that the first point of departure when we are going about our businesses and our vocations is not to compete, but it is to collaborate so that we can maximize how to benefit and these economic gains, so that we don't spend time and effort and money and energy competing with each other when we could achieve so much synergy when we work together and collaborate. The second one is around excellence. What we are talking about there is the fact that when we support Black and when we use Black and when we represent in whatever role we play in our lives, the concept of Blackness, we want to do it in a way that is excellent. And what that talks about is not just saying that we want perfection, but rather it says that we want to be growing every day, every opportunity, every moment of decision, every week. So that if we look at this as day one, in 6 months' time, when we look back at where we've come from, we have seen that we have grown, and in terms of our capability and how we show up, and how we honor those people who choose to support our businesses. So we do give ourselves and each other the leeway for making mistakes, because we are at the beginning of our journey. But what we're also saying is that, for instance, if you listen to Advocate Bbgi, he mentioned something in one of the videos that I saw on social media where he says, you know what, there is something that is being used right now to exclude Black people, and he talks as Black counsel, Black lawyers as an example, where they are given one opportunity, two opportunities, and then they are written off. You say, you see, we give you a chance. This is what happens when we give Black people a chance, without taking into context the fact that white counsel have been through this process but 5, 10, 20 years ago. And therefore, whatever mistakes they have made in the past, and no one remembers them, because they were able to get the support to move and grow and learn through those mistakes. Uvusi Thembekwayo says something similar, where he says, you know what, one of the key things that kills entrepreneurship in South Africa is the fact that you have perhaps, and this is his perspective, people who are gatekeepers for government in terms of funding and giving opportunities to entrepreneurs, but those people don't have an entrepreneurial background or understanding. Therefore, they don't understand the process of growing the business. The fact that sometimes the first attempt, the second attempt might not be successful, but when you throw that person aside, what you are really doing is putting a seed in the ground, watering it once, watering it twice, and saying this thing is not growing, and therefore planting another seed next to it and neglecting that one. And in a real sense, you are killing the very thing you're supposed to be growing, and you are delaying the progress that we could be making. So it's all about giving ourselves that chance to grow, but in a spirit of excellence. The third one is about growth. And this growth, as I said before, is not one-dimensional. It's not just about money, but it's about a balanced human being in every aspect of our lives. It's about the financial, it's about the family relationships, it's about your social relationships, it's about your mental health, it's about taking care of your physical health. It's not about working yourself to an early grave and wearing yourself out and sacrificing all these other things that are important for you to exist as a good example of someone in a community who is successful. But it's about the balanced growth that we want to see. We want to see our members growing consistently in every aspect of their lives. And very importantly, we approach each other from a position of good intent. And that means that we have good intentions towards one another. It means that when you succeed, I am able to be happy for you. When I succeed, you are able to genuinely be happy for me. What it means that we trust each other. We assume that we have good intention towards one another, because if we look at the amount of time and energy that distrust takes up, it slows things down so much. And to a large extent, it actually causes failure, because everyone is scheming and thinking that, so-and-so might be doing this behind my back. And many times these things become self-fulfilling, because whatever you look for, chances are you will find it, even if it isn't there. And the last one is our personal responsibility. This one is critical. What it says is that we are in this position as Black Africans, not necessarily because of our own doing, but because there are people who came and they did things to us which we think are inhumane, which we understand that are things that are immoral and things that are wrong. And those people, whatever reasons they had for doing those, we don't think that, as based on the demonstration of what is happening since 1994, that number one, necessarily they see anything wrong with that. Number two, that they really want to make meaningful reparation to the point of saying, whatever our ancestors or whatever we have taken from you, here it is, we are trying to give back, in a way that, we are really showing some kind of remorse. In a way, we are saying that, whatever amount of blaming we can point at other people and say it's your fault that we are in this situation, those people are living their lives and they're taking care of their own, and you cannot fault anyone for doing that. You can fault them on how they go about doing that, but they are taking care of their own. And we are saying that we therefore need to take up that responsibility for our own lives. For whatever the cards we are dealt with when we came into this world, how we use those cards, and what is the story of our lives that can inspire other people in the future. So we want to make sure that we are always taking personal responsibility for ourselves as a people, as a race, as a nation, as a community in this setting of the Bbgi, but as individuals in our businesses, in terms of the businesses we own, and in our careers, wherever we might be working in corporate. So it's really about making sure that we take personal responsibility, having an internal locus of control and saying, I'm in charge of my life, and therefore I have the power to control whatever I need and see needing to be changed in my life that I don't think is working for me. So who's the Bbgi for? Number one, it's for all people who are Black, right? Number two, it's for all Africans, because the issue we're facing is not just a South African issue, it's an African issue. It's a colonization issue. It's basically a financial slavery issue that we're all facing. It's the issue that causes us to fight amongst ourselves, because our African brothers, are looking for what is better for their families. They are looking for better futures, and therefore they come to South Africa in whatever means and take whatever opportunities in exchange for whatever they can get. And we end up fighting against each other, whereas the issue is deeper than that. And therefore, this Bbgi is for all Africans. It's not against any race, it's not against any creed, it's not against any culture, it's not against any religion, it's not against anyone. What it is for Black people. It's for business owners on one side, and it's for career professionals on the other side, whether they're in private practice or they're in public service. That is who it is for. It is for people who are at all stages in their journey as far as their careers or owning their businesses. Whether you are a beginner in school, in high school, in tertiary, whether you're still serving your articles, your internship, your apprenticeship, or if you essentially closer to the end of your career and your vocation. As someone perhaps who might be retiring or a retiree, or someone who's looking to hand over their business to the next generation of leaders, those people, we say that is for you as well, because we cannot afford to let that wealth of experience, of networks, of knowledge, of the history of where things come from, of expertise, we cannot afford to just, put it out to pasture and say that's it. Because for as long as people are willing to contribute, as long as people are able to share, then we want to benefit from that. Because one of the things that we want to instill is a sense of passing over the baton from one generation to the other. Not in a way that means we have to start all over again, but from a way that says that whatever learnings were there before, we have a way of transferring that knowledge so that the next generation starts at a much more advanced stage, or in their careers or in their businesses, than the generation before them. So what are the long-term measures of success that we're looking at talking about this Black Business Growth Initiative? Number one, we want thriving businesses and careers. What does this mean? It means that we want to see new businesses coming up. We want to see the businesses that are part of the community to grow in whatever measure we use, whether it's profitability, whether it's employing more people, whatever the case may be, we want to see those businesses grow. We want to see people being promoted in their careers, whether it's within the same institution where they're working or, it's in other organizations where there are opportunities, as long as that career growth and those opportunities are done in a sustainable way, a sustainable and responsible way. We want to see a growth in our membership. We want to see more and more people attending this event. We want to see more and more people signing up saying, we want to get more information. We want to interact even in between events. We don't want to just wait for the events. We want, to know when new businesses are being registered on the Bbgi. We want to know when there are business opportunities or career opportunities that we can let people in the community know, and that as members of the community, we can also be aware of those opportunities and be able to participate in that. We want to see new people attending these events. We want to see people returning to these events and also giving their testimonies about why they are coming back, not only just from being empathetic to the cause, but also because they are gaining value in their personal growth, in their growth in their careers, in growth in their businesses. We want to see, a Bbgi that is self-sustaining. Number one, we had at some point when the events were still face-to-face, we were selling tickets and the numbers, they were growing. It was beginning to generate income. But of course, when COVID came, we had to move to virtual, and we haven't yet started selling these tickets for these events. But we want to sell these events because, when we are having these events, our program talks about, number one, there might be training. We had one where Ulwandile Fatuse, who is an accountant and a tax practitioner by profession, he was sharing on financial management and, being aware of your budget, being aware of, how much money you make and how you are spending it. Being aware of saying, in a 12-month period, are you owning more things or are you owing more? i.e. the money that you are getting, how are you spending it? Are you generating more and more wealth? Are you investing in the future? Are you spending on things that will give you more money, or are you spending on things that really, once you spend on them, they won't generate any more income for you, and therefore they're just expenses or long-term debts? For instance, we want to see member subscriptions growing. And, later I'll be talking about the website that will be launching later in the month of April. And there we want people to sign up and to subscribe and to say, I'm a member, so that when I'm part of this community and I want to support Black business, whenever I want to buy something, the first point of call is to go into that platform, go into the website of the Black Business Growth Initiative and search for what I'm looking for. If I can't find it, I just put a notification so that the team, myself and the team, can go and say, we can put it out there and say, guys, in our community, there are people who are looking for Black businesses that do this, this, and that. Please let us know so that we can invite them in. Here's an opportunity for them to take up within the next 24 hours. Things like that, you understand? So we want to see more of those subscriptions. We also want to see more growth in terms of businesses who sign up on the Bbgi platform in the community as suppliers who say, you know what, we want to subscribe, we want to have access and support the Black Business Growth Initiative so that we can be part of this community and be recognized to be part of this community. We want to see a growth in terms of self-sustainability, in terms of the sponsors that we have. At this point, we've been getting sponsorship from personal trusts in terms of using their venue in Rondebosch, Cape Town. This is through the managing director, Utando Kobe, who has been generous in supporting us. Also through Gold Hours, which is my business, which runs basically coaching, training, workshops, personal development, which has been contributing financially in terms of giving time and expertise. Also through CYBTT, which is a company which stands for Changing Your Business Through Theatre. That is a company that is run by Uluntu Masizi, who's a member of our team, long-standing member of the Bbgi. And what he basically does is that he goes into companies, he helps them through theatre techniques, because he's an actor by profession, for employees and people to gain confidence, which can help them in terms of how they show up in serving customers, how they show up in the different aspects as they encounter life and their jobs. And of course, we had Nia on 131, which is a guest house in Rondebosch, Cape Town, which is run by Unasiphi Mkiva, who is a lawyer by profession, who is very heavily involved in property development. So, she's a very powerful lady who's very generous as well in terms of, mentoring young people and giving advice in terms of how to start your own business and how to generate the courage to do so, despite the possible fears that you might have. And then, of course, we're talking about other sources of revenue that might come up as we go along. Now, we also say consistency and quality in these events that we're talking about, which is why we are so apologetic about, last week, technical glitches, but it talks about starting on time, finishing on time, making sure that we are prepared, making sure that we are well organized, making sure that these events are relevant, talk to your needs, and we incorporate the feedback that we anticipate you'll be giving us through our emails that we've got on each screen, and also through our social media pages. We're also talking about the members doing business. We want to create a platform whereby when you support a Black business, you are able to transact everything on that platform up to the point of giving feedback after you receive the product or the service, so that we can ensure that there's consistency and quality. If there are issues, if you are not happy with the service that you got, instead of going out there and lambasting them on Facebook and essentially, I don't know, possibly killing a business and a person's dream over a mistake that they're making, when mistakes at the beginning are things that are part of learning and are natural. Rather, we keep it in here, you give the feedback, so that if it's an isolated event, we approach that person and say, listen, let's give you some coaching, let's give you some training on how to improve in this aspect of running your business. Excuse me. And if we find that this is something that comes across pervasive in the system, then we can call our members, our suppliers, and and we can have that as a topic of discussion and do some training and workshopping within these events. So that's what we talk about there when we talk about consistency and quality. Excuse me. So what are the other long-term measures of success? Well, we want to see an increase in collaboration. We want to see an increase in the value of the business and economy that we are generating amongst ourselves in this community. What that means is that we want to see increasing volumes and value of business being done. We want to track and have statistics and measures within this platform that we can report on. We want to see member subscriptions in terms of the value that we are giving. Again, is increasing subscriptions because of the value that we are giving. We want to see an increase in our in the sponsors, in what they give, because they see more value, and also in terms of the number of sponsors that we are able to attract, so that this Bbgi, this movement, this community becomes more and more self-sustaining. And of course, we want to see more funders, whether it's government, whether it's private institutions, whether it's international funders who are empathetic and sympathetic to what we are doing here. But at the end of the day, we are not here to talk against government, because government does a lot of work. Government builds a lot of houses. It's just that government is, does not necessarily all the time communicate well what they're doing. And also, if we face the reality, government is facing some real capacity and perhaps ethical issues that they need to deal with. But we are here in support of the good policies around transformation that government is already pushing. And therefore, we are saying, even to anyone from government who might be watching this, we are here to support, and that funding that is available, we want to make use of that as a key to growing this initiative, which we think is quite critical, to ensure that all the issues that we all know about and we talk about and say this needs to happen, we actually move from talking about things to doing them. And this is what the Black Business Growth Initiative is about. And of course, in these events, in the workshops that I've mentioned before, what we are also doing, because we are recording them, is we're building a library of information. That means that someone in 10 years' time, who joins the community in 2 months' time, this is available for them to go and view it. If there's a certain topic that we covered in one of the events, for instance, we have Pastor Tando Melani, who in our last live face-to-face event in March of 2020 was talking about networking. The value and the feedback that we got from people who attended it, to say, I got so much value. I now understand that when I go to network, it's not about me selling as much as I want and trying to convince everyone. right? But rather it's about me understanding what is it that you do, so that when I come across an opportunity, I know, and I'm triggered because I have a full understanding of what your business does and what your careers and expertise is, so that I can identify opportunities for you, so that I know that you are doing the same for me. We are not competing with each other for attention. Say, listen to me, this is what I do. I'm pretending to listen to you, but there's something that says, tell me what you do so that I may understand, so that I may identify opportunities for you, knowing that you are also doing that for me, because we are coming from a position of collaboration, unity, and good intent towards one another. The videos, the blogs and posts at some point, where we're going to ask you to contribute whatever your expertise, whether it's in the arts, whether it's in, finance, economy, mental health, whatever the case may be, we want you to contribute as well. And that is the body of knowledge that not only for ourselves, but for future generations. And when we, for instance, last year in Heritage Month, our theme there was to say, where do we come from? Why are we here? How did we get here? And where do we want to go? And the basic notion there was to say, we need to ensure that we leave a good inheritance for future generations. We want to make sure that this country, this continent, the businesses, the economic transformation, if we took it at 1%, we want to make sure that when we hand it over to the next generation, it's at least at 20, 30, 40, 50%. It might even be 80% representative of the demographics of the country, and that is the ultimate goal. So what will it take for the BBGI to grow? Well, when the guys were discussing this, they said, well, it needs to be inclusive. We can't afford to create this exclusive club of middle-class people or executive or senior people in business or whatever the case may be, but it needs to be inclusive of all Black people, but it also needs to be inclusive of all people who have the intent and the values of wanting to see genuine transformation in South Africa. But in including everyone, we are unapologetic about the fact that we are here supporting Black business owners and professionals, gunning for their growth financially in every aspect of their lives, and the fact that we want to see the disparity in South Africa and in Africa, where Black people are here and other people are here, we want to see that growing. We're not saying we necessarily want to pull you down. We're saying, no, you carry on, but we want to partner with you if you are genuine in partnering with us to bring everyone here, because if everyone is here, it means that it's a better place to live in for everyone. It means that we start eradicating some of the issues around crime. Everyone starts feeling safe. I mean, there's ample research that shows a clear link between, financial impoverishment, education, health, crime. All these things are interlinked. So we want to be inclusive, but we want to be very clear and unapologetic about the fact that we are about Black people. Number two, what will it take for the BBGI to grow? Brand identity, collaboration. Basically, we want people to know about us. We rely on you to do that for us and to help us with that. But also the collaborations, as I said before, we're probably not the first people to think of something like this. We might not be the only people who are driving something like this. And that is not a problem, because we said we want to collaborate. There's more than enough for everyone. And at the end of the day, as long as we are all driving this vision that wants to see transformation, real transformation in the lives of Black Africans, then those people are our friends, and we want to collaborate. We don't want to be the ones who are the heroes and say we did it. We want to say we all are doing this and we all did it. That means we are already talking to the Black Management Forum through a gentleman by the name of Loison Ramla, who is a leader in one of the branches in the BMF. We are, for instance, looking at collaborations with Brown Sense. Many of us would know them from Facebook. We want to collaborate with Association for the Advancement for the Black Accountants of South Africa, whether it's the Black Lawyers Association, the Black Chamber of Commerce, whatever the case may be. And what we are saying is that at some point, when we all start gaining traction, we will need to start talking together and planning things together so that as the numbers swell and grow, which they will, because there's a great need and a growing sensitivity and awareness of this in South Africa, that is an issue, then we want to start working together instead of competing and getting in each other's way. The members said, well, you know what, it's good to have these formal events, but people are different. And it will probably be a good idea to have more informal engagements, such as braais, hiking, so that people who have different interests have opportunities to share those interests. Because essentially, when you're talking about collaboration, the most powerful, even in the world of work, the most powerful way of collaboration is the relational. When we know each other and we know each other on a personal level, so that we want to do what is good one for the other, then it becomes more. For instance, another perspective of this is we read a lot about people who say, oh, I went to work in Cape Town, I lasted for 4 years, now I'm in Joburg. Ooh, man, after 2 years, I had to take antidepressants. It was so lonely. I couldn't find anyone. I was alone at work. I was being boxed in left, right, and center. And I found that really, I wasn't given authority and I was just a token black. Situations like that, so that we create that opportunity for people to start engaging, to start talking, to start sharing their situations, so that those of us who have been through those things can advise and say, listen, this is how you handle it. This is, I've been there, I understand, from the emotional support, from giving support from a mentoring perspective, or even from a perspective that says, listen, you shouldn't be going through this on your own. Maybe you need professional help. Maybe you need coaching. Maybe you need to see a therapist. Maybe you need to go for a certain type of training, whatever the case may be. And of course, we want to see testimonials. For the Bbgi to grow, we need your testimonials. Testimonials, for instance, you have a lot of people who are coming back and you say, in our events, you'll see the program includes a business or career showcase, where we give about 5-minute slot for two of our members to come and say, this is my business, this is what I do, this is where I'm based, this is how you get hold of me. You understand? To basically give them an opportunity to sell their business to the members, and for you to be triggered to say, oh, that sticks in my mind. Next time I want a certain kind of service, I remember that testimony, I remember that business showcase. And very importantly, when you use that, you come back and say, man, I had a good experience. This is what I enjoyed, this is what I liked, this is why I would recommend that you come and attend the Bbgi events, you become a member, you subscribe, and also you start using the members and the businesses that are within the Bbgi. And also, when you are succeeding, you come and say, guys, this is what worked for me. It might not work for everyone, but this is what worked for me, and therefore I want to share with this community so that you can all share and participate in this success. I want to teach, I want to share, I want to mentor, whatever the case may be. And of course, we want accessibility. We don't want to stay in the suburbs online. We want to make sure that we're accessible to business and people who are working in the townships. We want to reach all communities where people who fit the demographic in terms of what we are driving, where they communicate, where they reside, where they interact, whether it's on Instagram, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on radio, whether it's on television, whether it's on SABC One, whether it's on Mzansi Magic. We want to be accessible, and those are the things that we're driving for. So if anyone is out there and can assist us with those things, please send us an email, get in touch with us, put a comment down there, and let us know, because we want to make sure that the reach of this grows exponentially. And the only way it will grow exponentially, i.e. from 1 to 2 to 4 doubles virtually on a daily basis, is if each of us on a daily basis are sharing this thing with one person, 2 people, 3 people, and we make sure we're doing that. Every time there's an event, there's a video, you're watching it, you find something that's relevant, you discuss it, you talk about it, you give us feedback, you reach out to us. We definitely want to have those conversations. Now, what are the key benefits? What are the benefits of being a member of the Bbgi? You probably would have picked up some of them already, but number one, we basically building a database, and when I talk about a database, number one is a database to say, if you want to support a Black business, this is where you go. You don't have to look far, come and look here. If you can't find it, let us know, we will source it. Number two, it's exposure of Black businesses and professionals, i.e. from the suppliers and the professionals to actually give exposure, whether it's from a career guidance perspective, whether it's from businesses saying, this is what I offer, and therefore that's an opportunity for them, you understand? It's also for people, at some point getting to know, listen, these are the job opportunities that are available. I can go to the Bbgi. That won't be a feature immediately, but over time, as the membership grows, that's definitely something we're going to venture into, so that these opportunities start to come up more and more. And then, of course, you get an opportunity to showcase your business, your career, your expertise. The other benefit I've talked about is growth in your career, promotions, your own personal self-confidence, how you show up, your ability, how you value yourself when you negotiate for a price, to be able to do that accurately and to grow in all these aspects of running your career, in your ability to negotiate. All these things are things that we talk about as part of the events, as part of some of the workshops that we run. Growth in terms of gaining knowledge from people in different sectors. So it's not just about your own sector, but it's also saying, well, what is going on out there, so that I have a broader understanding and knowledge, and perhaps even identification of some of the opportunities that I otherwise would not have known about. People who are in other sectors and industries outside of my own. I don't have to go and study a book somewhere, but I can actually sit and listen and have interactions with people who are quite high profile, whom you might not be able to access via other means, but through this community, we want to make them accessible, so that we don't, as Black communities, always be looking only at Nelson Mandela as of heroes of Black people, or Walter Sisulu, but to be able to look at, someone close by, Assassin Rwanda, that people can look at and say, I know that person. He lives in my neighborhood. He's from Umtata. I know him from Umtata. He's from Mount Fletcher. I know this guy, and this is his story. I can actually be inspired. Wow, this is possible. We know this person. Even people who might be older than you saying, man, Lelaiti, I saw him growing up. If this is possible, well, it means that for my children, even for me, this thing is possible. Making and building more wealth. That's what we're talking about, growth. To say the freedom for your children, to take up careers perhaps that they are really, really interested in, that will make them happy, and not just to say careers based on the fact that this is where the money is. It's making and building wealth so that when you see something needing to be done, you have the financial means to go and do something about it. If you see, for instance, that there's a certain community, they don't have, a soccer field, or their soccer field doesn't have a grass, you can go and say, listen, how much will it take to do this thing? And how can we do it? We can call people together. You have that network and say, if we all put in, 1,000 Rand, and I know in this community, it will take maybe 50 of us putting in 1,000 Rands, and voila, we've changed the community. We've given people something to redirect their energy, you understand? And perhaps even to offer coaching and, hire a coach who can, do those kind of things. But it's all about building and making wealth, not only for ourselves, and not only for our families, but for our communities, being able to give back and safeguard our families, and also, within this community itself. So what if you're not a South African? As I said before, the Bbgi is for all Africans, not just South Africans. What if I'm not Black? Well, we welcome all Africans, and we basically welcome everyone, but you must adhere to the values and vision of the Bbgi, right? And that is the growth and prosperity of Black Africans in the spirit of unity and collaboration, spirit of excellence, the spirit of, personal responsibility, the spirit of continuous balanced growth. That's what we are talking about. What if I'm a company, right, and I'm not an individual? What if I want to, as a company, I want to join the Black Business Growth Initiative? Now, our membership is individual-based, right? And therefore, all suppliers must be registered through individuals. What we mean there is that, a company, you can't talk to a company. A company is a registration number. It's a document at the, Commission for Intellectual Property, right? It's at the CIPC. What we are saying is that SASI, you must register as an individual. Then as part of your registration, then you say, I want to register my company as a supplier that can get business through the Bbgi, right? That means that we know that when we are talking, when we've got issues with the company, we want to talk to the company, we know we have to talk to SARS. What that means also is that when we know that we are talking to SARS, we know that we are talking with someone who we continually know is part of the events and therefore is aware of the values and what we are driving, right? What it also means is that when we are looking at registering your company through your membership, the Bbgi codes and principles that government has put in the policies, we want to look at that because we don't want to be supporting a business and saying we are supporting Black because we know SARS, only to find that SARS only owns 5% of that company and the rest of the 95% is owned by non-Black people who are not the target group that we want to see prosper and grow to the point of equality from a transformation perspective. So we want to make sure that the ownership of that company or that supplier, right, is in line with what we want to achieve, and also the management of that company is in line with what we want to achieve. So that is something that we will always be looking at as a prerequisite for membership in terms of companies being a part of the community. You know, and of course, what if you're a company? One of the benefits that other companies who are genuinely interested in transformation is creating a pool and a database of Bbgi partners who, number one, they know that they are going through some kind of curriculum which ensures their personal and professional growth. Number two, they know that if they have any issues, they can come and they can talk to us and say, guys, you know, we are having these and these issues, please help us to address them. It also offers that, which in a way also drives the sense of saying, you know what, when you are supporting transformation, it does not need to be at your detriment. And in many instances, it might be a false assumption based on people having had one bad experience in supporting Bbgi out of 10, for all we know. Because the bad stories, somehow people are more likely to share their bad experiences than they are to share the good experiences, which is why we hammer on about sharing your testimonials and giving feedback when you've supported a company from within this community. Other benefits, it's learning and sharing, i.e. What we are talking about here is identifying gaps within your own knowledge and competencies and therefore addressing those, sharing what you know to empower others within the community, getting and giving career guidance so that, you know, I read something once that said, you know, many times people spend so much time trying to climb the corporate ladder that when they get to the top, they suddenly realize that they've been climbing the wrong wall. The ladder is against the wrong wall. The career guidance, you know, is a key benefit that we want to give here to say, how do you choose a right career? Maybe not for you, maybe for your children, but how do you get career guidance? And if you're already in a certain career and want to transition into something else that will give you more health, be less stress-free, will give you more energy and, you know, gumption in the morning when you wake up, looking forward to doing that because it fits you more naturally. Then we also want to help you focus on topics that are relevant for you. You know, for instance, you might find time management and prioritization might be an issue for you. We organize that, we get feedback from you, say, you know what, for these people, there's enough people that we can run a workshop, right? We can do that, a workshop that possibly would cost you like 2,000 Rand to attend. We say you're a member of the Bbgi, come for 100 Rand, show your commitment that you attend. There's 20 of you expertise and say, fam, a member of the community, you know, i.e. creating income streams. That's one of that, creating those employment opportunities and creating ecosystems of businesses. Number one, from the perspective in my example earlier of saying, when you're sitting on the sofa and sleeping on this bed, right? Understanding the entire value chain to say at the beginning, this was cloth, this was wood, right? This was fabric, leather, whatever. And now it's a bed that I'm sleeping on. From that time when it was just wood to the time that it came to all the steps that are in between, right? if you get an understanding of those and you start collaborating and finding people within this community, and having a better understanding of the value chain, then you start seeing more opportunities for improving your own services because you understand where things come from before they get to you and where they're going. And not only that, in terms of looking at the linear, right? It's also looking around you, right? To say, well, when someone buys a bed, chances are they'll want bedding. Chances are they'll want pillows. Some chances are, whatever the case may be, right? To say, well, what are some of the other businesses that, form part of the same shopping basket, if I can call it that. So it's also creating those opportunities for people to collaborate and to make things easier for each other because they know each other. Inspiration and empowerment. You'll find that, for instance, many of our events, some of them, you find there's inspiration. People share their stories to say, this is how I got to where I am. Some of them are motivational speakers, so you get posted personal motivation and inspiration. People who say, man, I was at the point of selling my car, my businesses were not working out, and this is what I did. So if you are going through this, hang on, these are some of the things that you need to do. And then you might even, after that, reach out to that person and talk to them. Empowering the Black community in business, that's what we're doing. Empowering youth in practical ways, not just in theoretical ways. And as I said before, the BBGI is looking to attract and include all generations, right? From people at the beginning of their career and people who are actually looking at handing over and are nearing the end of their journey. And then feedback on quality of service or product. Having a place where you can go and say, listen, I want experience. Or, it was all good except for, 8 out of 10 things for me, I'm still happy to support, but let's work on these things, a way that we can do that so that there's intervention and networking. Groups can access opportunities better, i.e. if you want to go for a big contract, your company is too small, you can find people that you say, hey, let's attack that big contract together. Building collaborative relationships that say, you know what, we can talk to each other, we can work together, we can do things that are mutually beneficial, even if, it's now and the long term. Alignment of like-minded individuals, whether it's from a personal perspective, making friends, or from a business perspective in terms of saying, you know what, we want to contribute to the BBGI by building, some kind of academy, right? That's a possibility. Identifying opportunities for collaboration, gaining knowledge from people in different sectors, I've mentioned that already. And then goals for 2021, and this is the question, how can you contribute? Because this thing, if it's just SASI, if it's just the team that is running the BBGI, if it's just up to us, it won't work. What we are really creating here is an opportunity for you and me to work together in a practical way to solve the issues of Black people in South Africa, to work with government in terms of trying to unravel this knot that they inherited in 1994. Having to deliver services to 50 million when they were only designed to service 10 million or 5 million people, right? That's what we're talking about. You need to contribute to this if it's going to be a success. Attend the events, right? Invite people, share, tag, talk about the BBGI, know more about the BBGI, reach out, ask your questions, study what we're about, look at other possible avenues that we could be getting involved, you understand? So share, tag, talk about it, invite people, even older videos, go and watch them, tag them. Keep coming and speak well of the BBGI, right? Speak well of the community. If you've got issues, keep them in-house, bring them to us so that we can sort them out. Don't go and post a complaint out there when you haven't even engaged, the business owner that is trying to get their business up and running, trying to learn this new skill of being a business owner, because yesterday they were an IT professional, but now they're running a business, which is a completely different kettle of fish, where we would come in the coaching and the training. We've got BBGI Wednesdays. We say 1 day a week, we share on Facebook, on social media about the BBGI on Wednesdays. When you see those, it's easy for you. You just take it, you share the link, you tag. Every Wednesday we make it about BBGI. And if you can try every Wednesday to send it to the people you sent to last week, and to the people, and to maybe 1 or 2 people that you haven't sent it to before. Send it to your parents, to your neighbors, to other, parents in your children's school. Just share, because you never know, right? You never know what the other person is thinking, because we rarely, not often, very seldom, we have these kind of conversations about serious things. We might talk about soccer, we might talk about these things, we might talk about religion, we might talk about politics, but in terms of talking about these kind of things, we need to make sure we do that, even if it's just by clicking a button. How can you contribute? Creating a database of members and businesses. When we launch that website, we're going to need people to help us pilot it, to help to get the snags out, to help us identify mistakes that we didn't think about when we were writing this thing theoretically, but people who are going to say, let me start using it so that we can start identifying some of the mistakes that might be there, so that we can start improving this website and this online store. And also, you must subscribe onto the platform, subscribe for the events, subscribe and really use the suppliers that are going to be on this platform. The first, make it your habit, even if it's inconvenient, right? Make it your habit to first go and look at the Bbgi. At the beginning, we're not going to have as many businesses, right? But if we keep loyal to this idea and we give it a chance, going back to the idea of planting a seed, if we keep watering that seed and watering that seed and watering that seed, it is inevitable that something is going to sprout, and from that, we are all going to get the fruits that we can all enjoy, right? And it's going to compound. So subscribe, use, and then share. That's your part in it. Participate, volunteer. Volunteer in the organizing of the events. Volunteer your expertise and knowledge. Volunteer to come and present a topic that you've got expertise on. For instance, in April 2020, it was going to be our anniversary event, but on the 26th of March, of course, lockdown happened, so we couldn't have that. But what we had planned there was to have, a gentleman by the name of Ngobile, to come and present about how businesses can access funding. And why this is so important is the fact that people have got dreams and ideas, good businesses, right? People want to ensure that, if my child one day looks for a job, they don't have to go to a job where the surname and the culture are geared towards prioritizing other people, right? They can go and say, Sazi, my child is here. In fact, Sazi, your children, I run an IT company, your child seems to be interested in this. Come, let me give them an apprenticeship, right? And then we all know that I can have a conversation with this person as part of that community to say, hey, how's my son Usazolukaba doing there? How's my daughter Usiatandwa? How's she doing? She wanted to go into, mental health or whatever the case may be. How's it going? It's creating, those and participating. When you've got something to share, volunteer, come and share with us. It builds your profile. People know what you are about, and therefore it's a strong way for you to communicate, but it also adds value in terms of adding to the knowledge base of the Bbgi. Engage, comment during events, ask questions, encourage, be enthusiastic, you understand? Suggest, share ideas, reach out, tell us, say, listen, guys, you are missing this. What would be even better is if you started addressing this and this issue. Maybe this is how you can, start doing the streaming in a better way. Maybe you need to do it on YouTube as well, because you have more access. We've gotten ideas like that already from people. And very important, don't just talk, please. We are building a community of doers, right? We must take personal responsibility and act on the things that we know will make our own lives better, our families' lives better, our neighbors and our communities, and our society better. Sponsorship to cover events, Bbgi operations, and increase the initiative's reach. Give financial support, donate, buy, merchandise. If you're producing t-shirts or something, come and say, listen, here are t-shirts, I can offer them to the Bbgi, you can brand them, to increase their awareness, things like that. So please give, sponsor, whatever they can, donate, so that we can be self-sustaining. And this is the next one. We talk about the financial sustainability and the source of income of the Black Business Growth Initiative. Number one, the revenue is from event ticket sales. And when we are talking about creating a platform, what we are saying is that we want to say, when you bring your business here and you get business, right? Someone buys as a member, and uses your product, right? And uses your service through this community. We want to take a marketing fee and say, listen, this is the commission that we take. And a part of that commission, we say to our members, here's a discount for you for supporting Black business. A portion of it is to make sure that we cover the expenses of making sure that the BBGI is being run properly in terms of the infrastructure, the websites, the people, paying them value for their contribution. And thirdly, putting some away so that we start building up a capital fund to be able to finance our own projects later on, so that we can start taking up more of these spaces, so that we can start actualizing the dream of saying, wow, can you imagine if we started owning our own schools? Can you imagine if we started building schools or improving the schools that are there, being built by governments? Can you imagine if we helped a farmer to buy land, and from there we know that we know what we are putting into our bodies, because that is the farmer, and those are the farmers that we are supporting. Already they have a market who are going to use their produce, right? So all that commission that we want to be, donations from members, from other supporters, from other interest groups, whether it's the BMF, who say, you know what, we are driving small business growth, we are driving executive development, leadership development program. It looks like the BBGI is in line with that. We have a budget of, let's say, 200, 500,000 for that. We want to give you a portion of that budget because you're already helping us to do that, but we just want to make sure that we can partner and make it visible that we are all in the same thing in terms of doing that. We are looking for funders, whether it's international, whether it's government. I've talked about that. And the year ahead, what's the plan? Well, we want to have 8 more monthly events on the second Wednesday of every month. So please diarize, look out for those. The events will cover the following themes, amongst others, and suggest your own, because we see enough suggestions coming from you along a certain theme. We'll definitely change this plan so that we talk about things that are relevant to most of our members and our supporters. We want to talk about Black history and the Black side, which talks about self-worth, which talks about the bondage of poverty thing. We want to address the mental, psychological, emotional, spiritual side of things, right? We want to talk about business strategy and operations training, whether it's financial management, whether it's strategic thinking, whether it's how to set up systems to make sure that your system runs itself. Even if you are on holiday with your family, you are not always chained to your business, right? Or even your position at work. Career management, I talked about it before, to say, especially for young people, to say, how do we help you to manage your career? In the same way that you have an entertainer who has an agent who helps you to manage your career, so we want to talk about career management so that you manage your career, so that when you have to negotiate a certain opportunity, you want to choose which company you're going to work for. We want to help with those things. Building and sustaining good relationships. Those are key things which our education does not cover adequately, because up to a certain point, your technical skills will get you some. But there's a point where the technical skills everyone has got. The differentiator is how you relate and work together with other people to get the best results, right? Time management and prioritization. How do you ensure that you get balance and focus on the most important things that give the most impact in terms of your life and your career and your business? Standard items on the event program, business or career showcase, right? Whether it's a musician, I know that, I think it's Tangiso, presented and sang and showcased her talents as a musician in one of our events. I think now she's the opening act for Mandisi Kyanki now in early April, Black African Talent Showcase, we've got those as well. Testimonials, those are the standard features that we see on our events program, as a standard. So I want us to imagine, right? And this is what we are really looking at if we start thinking big. Can you imagine every time a Black person starts a business, they have access to this community of potential funders and a supportive and sympathetic, market base. I.e., imagine when you start a business, you've got access to funding. So this dream that you have, right? Instead of going to work and servicing a boss because you're employed, and then seeing to your other responsibilities as a family member, as a friend, or whatever, and then giving whatever energy is left to your business, which means that your business is immediately starting at a back foot. Imagine if we were to able to say, listen, your business idea, right? Here, we'll give you support for a year. You don't have to worry about your children's school fees, about the house being taken away, about the car. about what you're going to eat, your electricity. Here's funding. Here's the program that we want to make sure that we support you. But now you can give your business 100% of your time. Imagine we could create that opportunity for ourselves and for each other, right? Imagine if we bought food from Black Oak Farms. I talked about it. Imagine if we united, and we used our numbers, right, to assist government for the programs that they are running, whether it's education, whether it's health, whether it's housing, whether it's energy, in a way that we also are able to benefit ourselves and also this community and the country as a whole. Imagine if our children don't have to beg for jobs in other people's businesses, but rather they can look within this community for career advice and for career opportunities. Imagine if we unite and we believe in each other, if we believe in ourselves. Imagine, that we can imagine all we like, and whatever we imagine, we've got the financial means. We've got the political support, the social backing from this community to make those things a reality. And that is really what we are driving. And I'm saying, just imagine if the day when you look at what you spend every month, and 90% of it is being spent on Black businesses. Imagine if your business that you are running or your career, you look at it, you can look at your Black brothers and sisters and you say, these people support me. These people have good intention towards me. I can see it. My children can see it, and they are learning how we should be treating each other and how we should be treating other people and how we grow ourselves. And the fact that we're not alone. The spirit of Ubuntu is something practical, and it's a spirit of unity from a position of mutual good intent, but also from a position of taking personal responsibility to not manipulate and take advantage of other people's good intentions. So this is Sazi Ndwandwa saying thank you for paying attention to this presentation. Thank you for your continued support going forward. Thank you to our members who've been with us since day one, those who've joined us along the way and keep showing up. Thank you for our sponsors whom I've mentioned before. Thank you for our future sponsors who will watch this and have an inkling and be excited at the opportunity that they've been looking for to contribute to something like this. Thank you to our volunteers and thank you to our supporters. Thank you to the team that has been organizing these events and that has stayed on even if they are not yet being financially compensated. Contact us, info@bbgi.co.za. Comment on our Facebook, our Instagram, whatever the case may be. And then for those donations that you want to make, those are our banking details, and use your name as a reference so that we know where we are getting our monies from. Okay, so that's